During that time, it was a crazy moment. 3 weeks, no one knows about what happened. And the world was closing the eyes about what is happening in Gaza. Even for me in Gaza, we don't know what is happening outside my house. Just with a radio, I used to listen. And Gazans became numbers. Human beings are not numbers. They have faces, they have names, they have hopes, they have dreams. Can we get from there to consider human being as a human being, not numbers? And that's what do we need. Till what happened 16th of January to open the eyes of the Israeli public, the international community, the Palestinians, that we are killing innocent civilians.
How does it feel for you to come into the United States, Dr. Abuelaish? At this time, then it was the Israeli assault on Gaza. Your children were killed by a military that is armed and financed by the United States.
It's time to face each other and to speak. And it's important to transmit the message. The Americans, the American Jews, Arabs, Muslims, everywhere, we need to communicate and to speak. Words are stronger than bullets. And without communicating, without acting and meeting together, who's going to solve? And I learned one thing. Our enemy is our ignorance. We don't know. We don't know, and to know, we need to communicate and to explain face to face.
The story of your life is remarkable, and you tell it very graphically in your book, I Shall Not Hate. If you could just share with us where you were born, tell us in a nutshell, which I think is very much the story of the Palestinian people.
I was born, raised and lived as a Palestinian refugee in the Jabalia refugee camp, deprived of what is called the childhood. I never tasted the childhood as millions in this world, which is man-made suffering. And this is the hope. It's man-made. So we, as a human being, we can challenge those man-made challenges and not to accept it and to change it. I succeeded.
Your father came from?
From a village called Houj, where Sharon's farm is established. It's close to the road.
So your land, your father, what he has a deed for, is actually known today as the Sharon farm, Ariel Sharon's farm.
Yeah.
The prime minister.
The Abuelaish's land. And in a sudden, to be a refugee on nothing. But our parents, especially the Palestinian mother, she is the hero. From nothing, they pushed, encouraged the children. We lost everything, but we didn't lose hope in the Palestinian children to be focused and to be educated.
You say your family left Houj in 1948.
Yes.
Your father afraid
they were excited to leave, and they were forced to leave. And they were thinking it may take just a few days and they will go back. These days, months, years, and now 6 decades. And even in the place where are we now, we are not safe or we are not free.
So you grew up in the Jabalia refugee camp, completely destitute. Your only escape ultimately was your education, what your parents pushed you to do, and you became a doctor. The Jabalia refugee camp, it's the place which is close to my heart. I feel the good and the bad times in the Jabalia refugee camp. It's the memory, it's the roots, but encouraged me of not accepting this life, this suffering, and that we can change it. I succeeded from nothing, and that's the message. I want others, please, stand up, have hope, have faith, and act. How many of you lived in one room?
We were, I remember in the early days, it's a room 3 by 3 meters, to have 6, 7, 1 by 1 to be covered. In winter, we are attached together. That's the life in the camp. We have no life. But we were determined, just breathing.
Describe what it's like to go through a checkpoint. I mean, for you as an adult, as a recognized doctor, renowned through Israel, as a gynecologist, working in Israeli hospitals, describe what it was like for you to go through checkpoints, and where were these checkpoints? These
checkpoints, someone, when he sees it from far, he doesn't imagine it. Especially when I leave from Gaza to Israel to pass through how many checkpoints?
How many?
It's intimidation. Just from the first gate to the last gate, it's about 20 gates you pass through.
20 checkpoints.
20 gates. You from one to the other within one checkpoint. This is what is called areas, a checkpoint. And you need to pass through that. Electronized with computerized cameras. You don't see just doors open and someone is telling by voice to cross or not. It took me. Sometimes, if you are lucky, it may take 1 hour, 2 hours, and sometimes till the permits and the coordination is ready, it may take me from Gaza to Tel Aviv, which is 45 minutes. It may take between 2 hours to 4 or 5 hours.
And you'd even have the Israeli soldiers at the checkpoint asking you for medical advice about birth control and other issues. They knew you, and you still, it could take hours.
And they know me, and I know them. I understand the security needs, but can we make human life easy? Not to intimidate, not to humiliate. That's what do we need. A checkpoint, security, I understand it. But it is not in that way. Not in that way. When I came from Jordan to my wife, who was gasping, she was dying. I want to see her before she dies.
She died of leukemia.
She died of leukemia. It took me more than 14 hours from Alembe Bridge to Sheba Medical Center.
And how far is it?
It's 1 hour drive. And to move from one checkpoint to the other, we need to put ourselves in the shoe of the other. What are we doing? And why are we doing that? And is it the right way? Or can we change course?
Dr. Abuelaish, newly released classified U.S. diplomatic cables released by WikiLeaks revealed that Israeli officials openly told U.S. diplomats the aim of the blockade of Gaza was to keep Gaza's economy on the brink of collapse. According to a November 2008 cable, Israel wanted Gaza's economy to be, quote, functioning at the lowest level possible, consistent with avoiding a humanitarian crisis. Can you describe the conditions?
Gaza is collapsing. There is no life in Gaza. And Gaza is stigmatized by everything you like for yourself. But for Gazans say no. No life, no hope, no work, no employment. And some people, it's shame to say, we open the borders for food. Human life is not dependent on food. They are hungry for food, for employment, for freedom, for education, to taste their life and to feel that they are free in their life. That's what do we need. What do you think of a person living in a palace and you provide him with the best types of foods? He doesn't need the food. He needs a freedom. The most holy thing in the universe is a human being and the freedom. Freedom of poverty and occupation.
So what do you think has to happen right now?
What to happen? That to admit the rights of the Palestinians and to take active steps, and that there will never be a just and good peace just for one. It must be good and just for all, for Palestinians and Israelis. And I think it's time for the Israeli government and the Israeli people to stand up. We need to translate the resolutions into actions. There is a Palestinian nation and an Israeli nation, and they have to live sharing the land with the respect, and that the dignity of the Palestinians equals the dignity of the Israelis. And the freedom of the Palestinians is linked to the freedom of the Israelis from their fears. The security of the Israelis and safety is linked to the safety and the security of the Palestinians, not dependent on the security and suffering of the Palestinians.
And here in the United States, your message to the American people.
We need them to mediate and to take action. To say...
Your assessment of President Obama.
Yes, and that's what do we need. If we care about each other, even about your friends, if they are making mistakes, tell them this is not good for your interest. We need to open their eyes. We may be hard and harsh with our beloved ones from goodwill. And that's what I think we need to open the eyes of the Israeli public, and even if the Palestinian leadership is not committed, to say to them, this is not for your interest. But also, the roadmap is the humanity between us, not the territory. You can't have everything and the other side have nothing. Peace has a price. To be by choice from the heart. You can, by military ways, succeed for short term. You can force others to accept, but it is not sustainable. And we must look and to find the ways that are sustainable and to protect the future of our children and to put our children as a priority.
Dr. Izzeldin Abuelaish, 3 of his daughters and his niece were killed on January 16, 2009, when his home in Gaza was shelled by Israeli tanks. He has just written a book about his life. It's called I Shall Not Hate, a Gaza doctor's journey on the road to peace and human dignity. He's currently teaching and practicing in Toronto, Canada, with her surviving children. To get a copy of today's program, you can go to our website at democracynow.org. A very special welcome to our new Democracy Now! Staff, to our new producer, Renee Feltz, and our 3 Democracy Now! Fellows, Dina Guster, Manal Ahmed Khan, and Ryan Devereaux. And a very happy birthday to Edith Penty, who's been volunteering for us for years. Democracy Now! Is produced by Mike Burke, Shrufa Dukadus, Aaron Mate, Steve Martinez, Nicole Salazar, Hani Masood, and Robbie Karen, Mike DeFilippo, and Miguel Naguer, our engineers. Special thanks to Becca Staley, Julie Crosby, Nick Illa, Hugh Grant, Jessel Noor, Vesta Godars, John Randolph, Kieran Krug Meadows, Rockham Penny. I'm Amy Goodman. Thanks for joining us.